Are you actually ready for the level of audacity currently exploding out of Hollywood? Or has Tinseltown finally hit a point of no return, where family blood is just another sacrifice for a trending headline? We all witnessed those jaw-dropping images of Nicole Kidman and her stunning daughter SundayRose dominating their Met Gala debut like literal royalty amidst a sea of fashion disasters. But while the entire world was busy standing this mother-daughter power duo, a bitter ex was lurking in the shadows, sharpening his claws for a digital hit piece that absolutely nobody saw coming. Imagine being an iconic, globally respected actress, only to have your former husband, KeithUrban, jump onto the internet to deliver a verbal slap so toxic it left the whole industry paralyzed. We are witnessing a man who allegedly loved this woman for nearly 20 years, now publicly shaming her age and dragging his own daughter's pristine reputation through the gutter. Was this really a flicker of fatherly concern? Or has KeithUrban officially spiraled into a jealous madness? Today, we are stripping back the layers of this radioactive fallout, exposing those leaked messages that Keith desperately wishes he could incinerate, and asking the question every insider is terrified to voice. Is the Nicole Kidman family dynamic truly disintegrating in the most humiliating way possible? The shimmering facade of the Met Gala has always been a hotbed for high-stakes chaos. But what unfolded behind closed doors between Nicole Kidman and KeithUrban this year is basically a psychological horror film. For decades, we bought into the fairy tale narrative of the ultimate Australian power couple, the guitar hero and the A-list queen who ruled both Hollywood and Nashville. But the second those divorce papers hit the desk, the mask didn't just slide, it exploded into a million lethal shards. The public was already spinning from the shock of their separation. But seeing Nicole dominate that carpet with SundayRose felt like a massive, undeniable declaration of independence. It was intended to be a symbolic passing of the torch, a moment where a cinema legend presented her heir to the world of high fashion and elite power circles. Instead, it became the spark for a social media nightmare. But the truly twisted part, the detail that has people feeling physically sick, is how he weaponized SundayRose in this drama. Sunday is barely 17, standing right on the edge of her own life and bright career. For a father to openly, or even semi-privately, humiliate his daughter's first big fashion milestone is a level of petty that is almost impossible to comprehend. Keith didn't simply stop at trashing Nicole's outfit. He allegedly hinted that Sunday is being groomed by her mom to enter a world of shady connections with much older, predatory men. This is a nuclear accusation to throw at your own child and her mother. He reportedly described the Met Gala not as a celebration of beauty, but as a meat market where Nicole is auctioning Sunday to the highest bidder in the Hollywood elite. The irony is thick enough to drown in, given that Keith himself built a career in the spotlight, partying with the exact same people he now claims are dangerous for his daughter. It looks less like protection and more like a resentful man trying to crush the success of the women he can no longer dominate. The explosion from these leaked insults was instant and messy. Elite inner circles are aggressively picking sides, and this celebrity civil war is getting hideous. You have the Nashville country music establishment, which has always stayed loyal to Keith, now staring at him with total confusion and massive secondhand embarrassment. Meanwhile, the Hollywood titans who worship Nicole are locking doors and circling the wagons. There are whispers that legendary fashion houses are ditching their contracts with Keith because nobody wants a face who trashes the very events and icons that fuel the business. The hypocrisy is actually nauseating. KeithUrban built a multi-million-dollar empire on the adoration of women, singing ballads about devotion and respect. Yet here he is allegedly shredding the two most vital women in his life because he cannot stomach seeing them succeed without him. It is a textbook case of a man losing control of the plot and choosing to torch the entire mansion instead of exiting with some dignity. What is even more twisted are the leaked files suggesting this was not the first time Keith tried to crush Nicole's self-esteem. Secret sources close to the sets of Nicole's latest hits claim that Keith would constantly make jokes about her looks or her career moves, slyly hinting that she should vanish into retirement before the world grew tired of her. If these accounts are accurate, those Met Gala insults were not a random slip-up. They were the peak of a decade of silent bitterness. Seeing Nicole look breathtaking and powerful on the planet's most prestigious fashion runway was obviously the final snap for him. He simply could not process the reality that at nearly 60, Nicole Kidman is still more relevant, more radiant, and more powerful than he could ever dream to be. So, he did exactly what every fragile ego does when they feel irrelevant. He tried to make her look tiny. He attempted to weaponize her greatest happiness, her bond with her daughter, and turn it into something disgusting and scandalous. As we dive deeper into the forensic findings from the Kidman legal team, the nightmare gets even grimmer. There are claims that Keith has been actively sabotaging SundayRose's professional growth for months, demanding she stay locked away in Nashville instead of chasing the massive opportunities that come with the Kidman legacy. Nicole, however, has always championed her daughters finding their own independent paths. The Met Gala was Sunday's official arrival, a moment to prove she is more than a celebrity surname. By trashing this milestone, Keith was not just attacking Nicole. He was trying to suffocate Sunday's future. He allegedly branded the gala a den of sin and claimed Sunday was being coerced into gross social setups with aging industry predators. It is a desperate, theatrical storyline that feels more like a tinfoil hat theory than a parent's worry. It forces the question, what is Keith really terrified of? Is he worried about Sunday's safety? Or is he terrified that she will evolve into a titan that he can no longer manipulate? The global response has been a massive tidal wave of love for Nicole. The internet is currently exploding with fans calling out the sickening double standards haunting this drama. Why is it that when a male star in Hollywood gets older, he is labeled distinguished? But when a powerhouse like Nicole Kidman continues to dominate and innovate, she is told she is trying too hard. Keith's toxic remarks have accidentally transformed Nicole into a global icon of resilience for women everywhere. Every nasty jab he threw at her age has only highlighted how breathtaking she actually looks and how relentlessly she has worked to protect her throne. The smear campaign backfired in the most embarrassing way imaginable. Instead of humiliating Nicole, KeithUrban has only managed to expose himself as a dusty relic of a sexist era where men believed they could dictate when a woman's time was up. The irony of a rock star, a job literally defined by excess and trying to stay cool forever, telling an Oscar winner to age gracefully, is almost too much to stomach. But as the headlines keep screaming, we have to look at the permanent trauma this is inflicting on the family tree. SundayRose is at a vulnerable age where these public wars can be deeply scarring. Imagine being told by your own father that your mother is exploiting you and that your debut to the world is a disgrace. That is a level of psychological manipulation that is nearly impossible to move past. Reports confirm that Nicole is doing everything humanly possible to protect Sunday from the worst of this vitriol. But in our digital age, no secret stays buried. The pressure is suffocating, and as we enter the next stage of this disaster, the stakes are reaching a breaking point. Legal giants are likely already screaming over non-disparagement contracts, but the stain on Keith's reputation is already permanent. He tried to start a trend about Nicole's age, but all he did was ignite a firestorm about his own toxic character. And as Hollywood's inner sanctum begins to slam their doors in his face, the reality of his downfall is setting in. This was not just a messy post. It was a career-killing blunder disguised as a personal opinion. The shockwaves of Keith's alleged meltdown did not just stop at some petty comments on a private account. It sparked a massive forensic investigation into the financial and social hierarchy of the Kidman-Urban empire. Insiders are now whispering that the real reason Keith is screaming about SundayRose's inappropriate exposure is actually found in a much more sinister reality: pure greed and control. For years, Keith lived off the prestige of being Mr. Nicole Kidman, a title that unlocked doors in Hollywood and Paris that a Nashville country singer would never even see. But now that the divorce is final and the money is being split, Keith is reportedly reeling from the loss of his golden ticket. By trashing that Met Gala moment, he is not just hating on a dress. He is attacking the very engine that keeps the Kidman brand at the top of the mountain. There are leaks from sources embedded in the legal battle that Keith tried to shake down a higher payout based on the distress of Nicole's public life. And when that failed, he pivoted to this lie about Nicole being an unfit, obsessed mother to win sympathy from the public. These leaked details are haunting, revealing a man completely consumed by the optics of Nicole's downfall. One insider alleges that Keith maintains a creepy archive of tabloid shots where Nicole appears less than flawless, which he supposedly blasts to his cronies to humiliate her. If this is accurate, it transcends a messy split and enters the realm of a disturbing obsession. He reportedly bragged to a mutual contact that Nicole's Met Gala fixation was pathetic and that she was hiding behind Sunday like a human shield to mask her own vanishing relevance. But the world witnessed a totally different story. We saw a mother beaming with pride and a daughter emerging as the next global icon. The chasm between Keith's twisted version of reality and what the lenses actually caught is so massive it is almost hilarious. Public sentiment has shifted from bewilderment to straight-up ridicule directed at KeithUrban himself. People are laughing at the fact that while he is busy typing a gist insults about his ex-wife, he is still rocking leather trousers and synthetic hair extensions on stage at 60. The hypocrisy is so deafening it is literally drowning out his music. As the drama intensifies, forensic investigative findings are shifting toward the cold business side of the fallout. Rumor has it that KeithUrban was actually blacklisted from multiple high-profile Met Gala after-parties. And watching Nicole and Sunday being embraced with open arms by titans like Anna Wintour and the Kardashian-Jenner dynasty was the absolute final straw. This was never just about Sunday's safety or her proximity to older men. It was about the reality that SundayRose is being welcomed by the elite while Keith is being pushed to the sidelines. The claim that Sunday is forging unnecessary bonds with power players is being decoded by many as Keith's jealousy over no longer being in those exclusive rooms. Scathing quotes from industry veterans are circulating, alleging that Keith labeled Sunday's new circle as vultures and social climbers, conveniently forgetting that these are the exact same people who fueled his own career while he was married to Nicole. This is a total bridge-burning marathon, and the flames are moving fast. But let's address the specific, disgusting insult regarding SundayRose being groomed for the business. This is where the narrative gets truly pitch black. Keith reportedly hinted that Nicole is pimping out their daughters' youth just to cement her own Hollywood legacy. This kind of rhetoric is dangerous and highly inflammatory. It suggests a level of corruption and systemic abuse within the Nicole Kidman household that is purely fan fiction designed to inflict maximum trauma on Nicole's public image. Sources allege that Keith even dared to suggest that Sunday's floral Dior gown was intentionally provocative to bait the attention of predatory industry executives. This is his own flesh and blood we are talking about. The pushback from parenting experts and youth advocates has been immediate. Even if these comments were trapped in a private thread, the verdict is unanimous. Using your own child as a heat-seeking missile to destroy your ex-wife is the absolute gutter of parenting. It proves a total disregard for Sunday's mental well-being or her professional future. Meanwhile, leaked dossiers about Keith's own habits are surfacing as a tactical counterstrike. While he bashes Nicole for being age-obsessed, KeithUrban is reportedly dropping a fortune on cosmetic procedures to keep his young rock star aesthetic alive. Sources claim his skincare and surgery budget competes with any A-list diva, making his jabs at Nicole look beyond ridiculous. Rumors are swiveling that he actually keeps a high-priced youth consultant on his payroll just to keep him trending with the Gen Z crowd. The irony is so heavy you could literally slice it with a blade. He is clearly projecting his own deep-seated terror of irrelevance onto Nicole, praying that if he screams loud enough about her birthday, the public won't notice his own ticking clock. It is a textbook distraction play, but in this era of digital receipts, it is failing miserably. Fans are currently flooding the timeline with side-by-side comparisons of the pair. And let's just say the internet has officially ruled on who is aging like fine wine and who is just trying way too hard. The backlash in Australia has been especially wild to witness. Nicole Kidman is a literal national treasure down under, and KeithUrban was always seen as the lucky bloke who somehow managed to land her. Now, the Aussie press is hunting him with a ferocity that is honestly unprecedented. Front-page headlines are branding him bitter, disloyal, and fundamentally un-Australian. There are even growing demands for him to be stripped of national honors or for a total radio boycott until he delivers a formal apology. But Keith, being Keith, is reportedly doubling down on the drama. Insiders claim he feels like the only honest man in a city overflowing with liars. He allegedly views himself as a martyr for traditional values, fighting against the evil corruption of the global fashion and movie industries. It is a delusional storyline that has left him stranded on a lonely island of his own design. Even his country music colleagues are starting to pull away, terrified that his radioactive energy will contaminate their own brands. What is even more unhinged are the reports that Keith has been actively trying to sabotage SundayRose's potential modeling deals. Word is that multiple luxury brands were desperate to sign Sunday after her Met Gala triumph. However, Keith's legal squad allegedly fired off warning letters, arguing that Sunday is a minor and cannot sign any contracts without his personal stamp of approval. Approval he apparently has zero intention of ever granting. He is basically trying to trap her in a cage just to spite Nicole. This has evolved beyond a simple ex-husband dispute. It is a full-scale war over a young woman's freedom. Nicole is reportedly incandescent with rage and is exploring options to have Sunday emancipated or to strip Keith of his parental rights due to his public trashing of their child. The legal expenses for this mess are going to be astronomical, with experts predicting both sides will burn through $5 million before December. The total destruction of their perfect family brand is now complete. We are watching the War of the Roses for the social media generation. Keith's nasty claims about Sunday being around older men have also triggered a swarm of investigative TikToks and YouTube deep dives, with users hunting for who he is actually referencing. Is there a real person Keith fears, or is he just throwing mud at the wall to see what sticks? Most observers believe it is the latter. It is a pathetic attempt to manufacture a scandal where none exists, just so he can feel some shred of control. But every time he leaks a message, he loses the room. The victim act he is selling is flopping because nobody believes Nicole Kidman, who navigated Hollywood for 40 years without one major scandal, is suddenly a villain. The devastation is now bleeding directly into the financial veins of Keith's empire. His major upcoming tour is reportedly witnessing a massive crater in ticket sales across key cities, specifically in markets where Nicole's fan base is legendary. Global sponsors are officially panicking. When you spend decades building a brand as the ultimate good guy and devoted husband, you cannot suddenly pivot into a bitter, age-shaming ex without losing your shirt. KeithUrban is discovering the brutal way that in 2026, the public has zero tolerance for men who attempt to extinguish a woman's light simply because they can no longer shine as bright. The pressure has reached a total breaking point, and as we transition into the tangible consequences of this public implosion, it is obvious that Keith did not just insult Nicole Kidman, he insulted his own legacy. The stage is perfectly set for a legal showdown that will likely redefine celebrity divorce forever. And the entire world is watching with held breath to witness what happens when the quiet husband finally loses his composure for good. The actual wreckage of this digital war is entering a phase that most A-listers never survive. It is the legal and institutional blowback that is currently forcing KeithUrban's team to scramble behind locked doors. We are no longer discussing a few bruised egos or a chaotic Instagram comment thread. We are looking at a full-scale investigation into the reckless claims Keith broadcast regarding SundayRose's inappropriate ties. When a parent, especially one with a massive global platform like Keith, goes public and implies that their minor child is being coerced into shady relations with older, elite men, that is not just gossip. It is a massive red flag for child protective services and legal authorities. Reports are flying that Keith's attorneys are desperately trying to retract those specific accusations, claiming they were misinterpreted or pulled out of context by the media. But the stain is permanent. The Met Gala is one of the most strictly vetted events on Earth. By suggesting it was a house of sin for his daughter, Keith has effectively slapped every major power player in New York and Hollywood. There is now chatter of a deep dive probe into Keith's own mental state during the final months of their marriage. While he was busy obsessed with Nicole's allegedly age-obsessed habits, sources are now leaking claims that Keith was actually the one becoming increasingly erratic. Anonymous whispers from the Nashville scene suggest his tour might be canceled, not just from poor sales, but due to a morality clause that major sponsors are now looking to activate. If Keith is proven to be intentionally trashing his daughter's name to win a divorce battle, he faces a total financial meltdown. We are talking about the loss of multi-million-dollar deals with guitar manufacturers, luxury watch brands, and high-end travel partners. The irony is staggering. In his supposed attempt to save Sunday from the business, he may have just vaporized the very wealth meant to secure her future. The public revolt is also taking a shape Keith never predicted: the unfollow movement. It began with SundayRose herself, who reportedly deleted her father from her socials in a sharp, pointed move, and now the fans have joined the hunt. Keith's follower count is reportedly tanking by the thousands daily as the world rallies behind Nicole. The smear tactic painting Nicole as a villain has been utterly trashed by a public that clearly sees a powerhouse raising two daughters while crushing an A-list career in a brutally sexist business. The comparison is jarring. Nicole Kidman is being hailed as a resilient queen while KeithUrban is being dragged as the resentful ex-husband who cannot handle his wife's massive success. There are now high-level boardroom debates happening at major networks regarding whether Keith is still a family-friendly asset for reality TV judging panels. If he gets axed from those seats, his annual income could tank by nearly 40% in one single year. Even more explosive are the rumors of a revenge documentary or a tell-all memoir being shopped around by insiders from the KidmanUrban camp. While Nicole has always been the gold standard for celebrity privacy, the sheer intensity of this public humiliation might finally force her hand. If she chooses to break her silence and drop the actual receipts of Keith's alleged toxicity, it would be the absolute end of his career as we know it. We are hearing whispers that actual footage and audio exist of Keith hurling these exacted gist and degrading insults during private fights. And if those clips ever go viral, there is no coming back. He would be permanently marked as the man who tried to incinerate his own family's dignity. The legal investigation into their shared fortune is also spiraling, with Nicole's team allegedly probing whether Keith used joint marital funds to bankroll private spies to track her life. If that proves true, he could be facing a nuclear financial penalty for the wasteful dissipation of marital assets. The vibe in Nashville is currently described as suffocating intense. Keith was always the golden boy of country music, but this scandal has left a disgusting taste in everyone's mouth. Even his inner circle is reportedly begging him to shut up and retreat before he loses every last thing. But according to those same insiders, Keith is in a state of pure denial, convinced he is the target of a Hollywood hit job led by Nicole and her powerful friends. It is a textbook case of a man who has lost his touch with reality and is now drowning in the deep end. Every desperate move he makes to defend himself only digs his own grave deeper. The consequences are terrifyingly real. They are incredibly expensive, and they are hunting him down faster than he can compose a fake apology song. As we look toward the horizon, the real question is not just whether Nicole and Keith can ever be civil again. It is about whether SundayRose will ever forgive her father for such a savage public betrayal. At 17, she is at the exact age where these insults are not just background noise. They are core, defining moments in her relationship with her parents. Nicole is reportedly already coordinating with elite security and PR firms to build a permanent iron shield around Sunday to ensure Keith's meltdowns never touch her career again. This could result in a total overhaul of their custody arrangement, effectively ghosting Keith from every professional decision regarding his daughter. He claimed he wanted to save her from the industry, but he might have just guaranteed that the industry is the only place she feels safe from his toxic judgment. The financial collapse, the global shaming, and the legal probes all point to one singular truth. KeithUrban's attempt to humiliate Nicole Kidman has become the greatest disaster of his professional and personal life. He actually thought he held the remote control, but in the end, it was Nicole who reminded the world what genuine power looks like. She did not have to say one single word. She simply had to show up, look flawless, and be an incredible mother. Keith's digital attacks were intended to be a weapon, but they turned into a boomerang that has returned to strike him exactly where it hurts the most. As the investigations intensify and the backlash explodes, the world is waiting for the final curtain to drop on this tragic Hollywood horror story. This has served as a massive wake-up call for anyone who thinks they can weaponize their children as pawns in a divorce war. The breaking truths we have unmasked today are merely the tip of the iceberg, and you can bet there is much more coming. But before I go, I have to ask, do you think KeithUrban has officially nuked his legacy, or is there a path back from this kind of public betrayal? Was he actually worried for Sunday, or was this a pathetic attempt to stay relevant while his ex-wife shines brighter than ever? Drop your theories in the comments below, because this war is far from over. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss our next investigative deep dive, where we will be exposing even more of the secrets Hollywood desperately tried to bury. Stay tuned, because the truth always finds a way out, and we are here to ensure you hear it first. This is a situation that has left everyone questioning the reality of Hollywood's most perfect couple and what actually happens when the cameras finally stop rolling. We have to ask the brutal questions here. Is KeithUrban actually a concerned father? Or is he just a man who cannot stand seeing his ex-wife and daughter dominate a world he no longer influences? To witness a father allegedly use his platform to mock the mother of his kids and shadow his daughter's biggest milestone is a level of drama even we could not have written. Is this the end of the Urban Kidman era, or just the start of a much darker public war? I want to hear your take, because the world is totally split on this one. Was Keith out of line for dragging these private family wounds into the social media spotlight? Or do you think there is a tiny grain of truth to his worries about the industry? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If you want to stay ahead of the pack and get the real stories the mainstream media is too scared to touch, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. We are only scratching the surface of this probe, and you will not want to miss our next update. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next breaking truth.